Hello young and old, and welcome to Best Around. Today we're going to be looking at the game Super Mario World. The game was a launch title for the console and was released in Japan on the 21st of November 1990 and in North America and PAL regions the following year. My background with the game is that I owned it and played it as a kid in the mid-90s and then again in the early 2000s and again in the late 2010s. It is a game in which I'm very familiar with. Super Mario World is a spiritual successor to Super Mario Bros. 3, a near unanimous favourite of the prior console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES for short. Quite simply, it's an upgrade in almost all areas. The music is vibrant and lively, it always fits really well, from the main screen theme to music within caves, against bosses, and even the ominous tune when you first encounter the final boss. The graphics are great, there's no shortage of colour, and everything is super clear. The biggest compliment I can give though is about the level design. The level design is great, perhaps the best I've ever seen from a 2D Mario game, and maybe even the best across all 2D platformers. Everything just flows so nicely. There's a small amount of exploration, but you'll never really be lost outside of the ghost houses. Now most levels have a conventional exit, but there are also secret exits in a bunch of levels, and there are even some levels, and a couple of worlds, where finding the secret exit is essential for progress. They're a fantastic addition, and it adds so much more replayability to the game. The game is simple enough to complete, with some mild to medium challenges as you get to the end. The final boss is very straightforward, and there is a fair amount of originality across the different castle and fortress bosses, although a lot of the castle bosses still extend to just jump on their head 3 times. The game is also multiplayer, where players take turns at completing levels on the overworld. What is great about this is that since it is co-op, once one player finishes a level or finds a secret, the other player can thus move on. It's not groundbreaking, but it's a nice touch. And it's also good that you can even share lives between players, which is fantastic if there's an ability difference between the players. The enemies are so varied, great and memorable. I feel like I could go 20 years without playing this game, yet all the enemies and levels and themes would come rushing back. There's a secret star world which looks and sounds great and gives a much needed bump in difficulty. The second part of it in particular really ramps up the difficulty considerably, containing the notorious level Tubular, though personally I found Awesome a lot harder. Slight negatives I would give to hitboxes that are sometimes a little questionable, and jump responsiveness, especially when on ice when sliding, that can make certain parts of levels, such as the end of Awesome, harder than what they should be. Also, there is an amount of slowdown when there's too many sprites on the screen. As mentioned earlier, the final boss is extremely straightforward, with a pretty simple pattern to follow, and you can even get given power-ups twice during the fight. I do think though that the final boss is more so for a kid to say he has completed the game, whilst attaining all 96 exits is what a seasoned player should aspire to. It took me just over an hour and a half to defeat the last boss, and around 6 hours to find all the exits across the 72 levels. Without the shortcut to the final world, it will take considerably longer to finish, and similarly finding all routes should take a bit longer, especially if this is your first playthrough. Make sure that you defeat a simple ghost house to save your progress, otherwise some exits that you had already found won't be recorded. For its time, this game was absolutely outstanding, and even now, near 35 years later, it holds up extremely well. I would give the game a 9 out of 10 for enjoyability, and when it comes to difficulty, I'll give 2 scores. For just finishing the game, I would give it a 4 out of 10, as it is fairly straightforward, with only mild challenges around the place, and even beginner gamers should be fairly comfortable most of the time. When it comes to the Star World, I would give it a 7 out of 10, as there are some levels that will really trouble the average gamer, and the beginner will have next to no chance with some of them. When it comes to the key question, is this game a top 10 SNES game? To begin with, about a year ago I'd written my top 10 only of games that I had completed, and this was one of the ones that I selected. I would say it has to be in the conversation, though my view could change as I play through more and more great games. Its quality speaks to the fact that out of 1,749 unique titles, it's the best-selling game on the system. However, I would only definitively say a game is definitely in the top 10 if it could be reasonably argued as it being a clear contender for the best game on the system. I would only see the game as an outside choice as the best ever game on the console. However, for a launch title, I can't imagine a much better start. Stay tuned for the next game, chronologically in this series, and I'll see you all next time.